Beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient oak, where the shadows of twilight stretch long across the earth, lies a place both feared and revered, an intersection where paths converge, yet none seem to lead anywhere. This is the Crossroads, a space untouched by time, yet full of the weight of centuries. Here the air is heavy, thick with the stories of those who have stood at the crossroads, their fates sealed, their choices made, or perhaps never made at all. At the heart of this forsaken place is a truth older than the oak's twisted limbs, older than the road that winds through the land. There is no going back from the crossroads. Once you arrive, the past and future collide, and what lies before you can never be undone. The crossroads, that sinister meeting of roads, is where decisions are made under the weight of heavy, unspoken promises. A place where the living and the dead are forever bound together in an unholy dance, their fates intertwined. No one knows for sure why the crossroads carry such a heavy presence in the folklore of cultures across the world. Perhaps it is the unsettling way the paths stretch infinitely in all directions, leading to nowhere and everywhere at once. Or perhaps it is the very essence of their duality, a space between worlds where both time and fate hold no dominion. It was here, at this precise point, where once, long ago, a promise was made. A promise between two souls, one living, one already touched by death, that would forever change the course of history. No one remembers their names, but the legend is clear. The Ashen brides were once young women, full of love, hope, and dreams of a future they could never have. For they were abandoned at the crossroads, left to wait for something that would never come. Some say they were left there by lovers who promised to return. Others say it was fate itself that tricked them, binding their hearts to the crossroads with a thread of cruel, broken promises. As the years passed, the living went on with their lives, moving from one place to another, passing by the crossroads as if it were nothing more than a brief stop in their journey. But those who knew of the Ashen brides, who whispered their names into the wind, could never forget. Their memory clung to the earth beneath the oak tree, soaked into the very soil that the crossroads rested upon. For it is here, among the twisted roots and darkened shadows, that the Ashen brides still wait. And they are waiting for something far darker than the love they were promised. They are waiting for the moment when the veil between the living and the dead is thin enough for them to cross it. The stillness of the crossroads is unsettling. Every sound, every crack of a twig, every gust of wind seems to carry the weight of something ancient. The wind carries whispers from long-forgotten times, murmuring in a language that has no name, no beginning, and no end. The moon, full and glowing pale, casts its eerie light on the ground, revealing the tracks of those who have come before and those who will surely come after. But no one stays for long. For those who linger too long at the crossroads feel the unsettling presence of something or someone watching, waiting. And it is said that if you stand at the crossroads long enough, you too will begin to hear the whispers. You will feel the pull of the waiting brides, whose presence has been so firmly anchored here in the soil of the crossroads that they too have become a part of the land itself. In the quiet moments of the night, when the wind dies down and the moon casts no shadow, the whispers grow louder. It is then that the legends of the Ashen brides truly take form. The tales say that the brides themselves do not move, not physically at least. They are not the type to wander aimlessly, lost in time. Instead, they are rooted here, like the very oak that towers above the crossroads. They are not ghosts, not in the traditional sense. They are something else, something between, something that defies explanation. The moment one dares to cross the road that leads them to the center of the crossroads, the air grows colder. The trees seem to grow silent. The very earth beneath your feet seems to hold its breath. And it is in these moments of eerie stillness that the Ashen brides become more than just a myth. They become a presence, their grief and longing palpable. You may not see them, but you will feel them. You may not hear their voices, but you will hear the rustling of their skirts, the whisper of their broken hearts, the sound of their sorrowful, yearning breaths. And then, if you are unlucky enough, you might hear their voice, the softest of whispers, carried by the wind, beckoning you closer. Some say it is a plea for help. Others believe it to be a warning. But what is certain is that the Ashen brides are waiting for something. But what? What could have bound them to this place for eternity, with no hope of release? Was it love, or something far darker? As you stand at the crossroads, the cold air wrapping around you, it becomes clear. The Ashen brides are not merely lost souls. They are the embodiment of promises broken, of love unfulfilled. They are not bound by time, but by the weight of their own desires. And as each year passes, their hunger grows. What began as a longing for love has twisted into something far more sinister. For the Ashen brides are no longer merely waiting for the return of lost love. They are waiting for vengeance. They wait for the chance to claim what was promised to them but stolen away by betrayal. And so, the legend continues, as it has for centuries. The crossroads, where the paths of life and death meet, where love once bloomed and died, and where the Ashen brides remain, bound forever to the earth that holds their sorrow. Their vigil continues, an eternal reminder that some promises, once broken, are never truly forgotten. At the crossroads, time stands still, and there is no escape from the fate that awaits those who dare to linger too long. The question remains: who will be the next to stand at the crossroads? Who will hear the whispers of the Ashen brides and be drawn into the darkness that they have created? Once you enter the crossroads, the story begins. But it does not always end the way you think it will. The crossroads, bathed in moonlight, is no longer just a meeting of paths. It has become a prison, one forged by promises and the breaking of them. Here, in the dead of night, where shadows stretch long and the air is thick with a silence that presses down on the soul, the Ashen brides stand, always waiting, always watching, their pale faces hidden beneath veils of ash. They are no longer young women in the bloom of life. Time has passed, yes, but the grief that binds them here is eternal, and it has transformed them into something other, something more. These brides were once full of hope, their hearts brimming with love for those who swore they would return. Now, however, they are mere echoes of the lives they once lived, a reflection of something broken that can never be repaired. Each one of the Ashen brides is a ghost of a dream. Their names are lost to time, their faces faded into obscurity, yet they have become something more than just figures in a forgotten legend. They are the living embodiment of abandonment, of betrayal so deep that it has become a part of the very earth beneath the crossroads. Their souls, tethered by grief and promises unkept, are locked in a limbo between life and death. They cannot move forward, cannot release the ties that bind them to the mortal realm. They are trapped in the moment of their abandonment, eternally waiting for a love that will never return. The Ashen brides are not mere phantoms wandering aimlessly in the night. No, they are something far darker, something with purpose. They stand, silent and motionless, as if part of the landscape itself. To see them is to glimpse into the heart of an endless sorrow, to witness the devastation left by promises broken. But even more terrifying than their silence is the sense of inevitability that surrounds them. When you see them, you cannot help but feel that their vigil is not by choice, but by some cruel design, an ancient force that binds them to the crossroads, forcing them to wait, to endure the passage of time with no end in sight. In the legends, it is said that the Ashen brides stand at the crossroads not by chance, but by choice, if you believe in fate. The crossroads are a place where paths diverge, where choices must be made, where lives are forever altered. And yet, the Ashen brides remain locked in one place, forever tied to the moment they were abandoned. No matter how many years pass, no matter how many lovers come and go, they are bound to the crossroads. They are trapped in a cycle, a never-ending loop of grief and longing. Each passing year, they become more distant from their former selves. They are no longer the women they once were. Time has stripped them of their humanity, and all that remains is the hunger for something they can never have. What does it mean to be bound to the crossroads? What does it mean to be stuck in the moment when everything was lost? For the Ashen brides, the crossroads represent the point at which they were abandoned, the place where they were left behind. The pain of that moment, the anguish of being forgotten, has become the very essence of their being. They are no longer alive in the traditional sense, yet they are not truly dead either. They exist in a liminal space, a space between life and death, a space where their grief is eternal. And so they wait. They wait for the promises of the past to be fulfilled, for the lovers who swore they would return. They wait for a love that can never be. The crossroads themselves are as much a part of the story as the Ashen brides. They are not simply a location, but a symbol, a representation of all that is broken, all that is lost, all that is left behind. The Ashen brides are bound to this place, not just by their own grief, but by the very land itself. The crossroads, with their intersections of time and space, are a place where the past and present collide. The bride's vigil is not simply a waiting for love. It is a waiting for something more, something darker. They are waiting for the moment when the veil between the living and the dead grows thin enough for them to cross. But to cross the veil is not simply to step from one world to another. It is to embrace something far more terrifying, the moment when the bride's grief, her sorrow, her anger, her betrayal, all become a part of the darkness itself. There is something profoundly unsettling about the Ashen bride's eternal wait. It is as if time itself has become a trap, a prison from which they cannot escape. They cannot leave the crossroads. They cannot move on, for they are bound to this place, tied to the earth beneath their feet by the broken promises of their lovers. And so, they stand, year after year, waiting for a return that will never come, their hearts slowly turning to stone. The wind that whispers through the branches of the oak tree above them carries their names, but no one ever listens. The echoes of their voices can be heard, but they fall on deaf ears. Those who wander near the crossroads may catch a glimpse of them, pale figures shrouded in ash, their faces hidden beneath veils, but they are never seen in full. They are shadows, fleeting and elusive, just like the promises they once held so dear. And yet, despite their spectral nature, the Ashen brides are not to be pitied. Their vigil is not born from weakness, but from a strength that is born of suffering. The grief that binds them to the crossroads is not passive. It is a fire that burns within them, a fire that cannot be extinguished. Their longing, their desire for revenge, has grown stronger over the years, until it has become a force all its own. The Ashen brides may be bound to the crossroads, but they are not powerless. They are waiting, yes, but they are also watching. They are waiting for the moment when they can finally claim what is rightfully theirs. The love they were promised, the justice they were denied, and the release that has eluded them for so long. But what happens when the Ashen bride's vigil ends? When they are no longer content to wait? When the sorrow and grief that has defined them for so long turns to something darker? The legends speak of the moment when the brides rise from their place at the crossroads, their faces no longer veiled, their eyes burning with a fury that has been building for centuries. What happens when the moment comes for the brides to claim what is owed to them? As the night falls silent around the crossroads, the shadows grow deeper. The Ashen brides stand, still and unmoving, their eyes fixed on the distant horizon. Time passes, but they do not age. The world around them may change, but they remain frozen in that one eternal moment, the moment of betrayal. And so, they wait. They wait for the one thing that could release them from their torment, the one thing that could end their vigil. But what will it be? Will it be the return of their lovers, or will it be something darker, something far more sinister? Only the crossroads know the answer. The Ashen bride's vigil continues, as it has for centuries. And they are not alone. Those who venture too close to the crossroads may find themselves drawn into their story, becoming a part of the legend. The Ashen brides may not be able to move from their place, but they are always watching, waiting, and whispering for those who dare to listen. There are few things more terrifying than an unkept promise. A vow spoken with the deepest of intentions and yet left unfulfilled can carve a wound into the soul that never heals. It is a betrayal that transcends time, a bond that cannot be severed, no matter how many years pass or how many lives unfold. It is this curse, this shackle of broken promises, that binds the Ashen brides to the crossroads, a curse that has transformed them from innocent women into vengeful specters of despair. In the beginning, they were no different from any other lovers. They waited in the quiet of night for the return of those they loved. They stood by the crossroads, their hearts filled with anticipation, each one holding tight to the promise that had been made to them. Their betrothed had vowed to return, to come back and claim them as their own, and they believed in those promises with the fervor of youth. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, and then the years, the hope began to fade. The lovers did not return, and the crossroads, once a place of hope, became a prison of pain. It is said that promises made at the crossroads carry a weight unlike any other. Perhaps it is the mystical nature of the place itself, where the threads of time twist and tangle. Or perhaps it is the raw emotion of the promise itself. Such a powerful vow, made in desperation or love, that it becomes a part of the land. The Ashen bride stood at this intersection, their hearts torn between love and anger, caught between the living world and the world of the dead. And in that moment, when the last of their hope turned to dust, the curse took root. The curse was not immediate. At first, it was only a lingering sense of abandonment, the gnawing ache of a broken heart that could never be mended. But as the years stretched on, the sorrow began to grow. What was once a quiet ache became a bitter anger, and the anger began to feed on itself. The Ashen brides, once young and full of promise, were no longer mere women waiting for a lover. They had become something else, something darker, more desperate, and more dangerous. Their love, twisted by years of waiting, had turned into something far more sinister: vengeance. As the years passed, they no longer stood merely at the crossroads in silence. They began to listen for the footsteps of those who would cross the threshold, those who would venture too close to their domain. The Ashen brides had become guardians of their own pain, watching from the shadows for those who dared to step where they had been abandoned. And it is said that those who venture too close to the crossroads will hear the softest of whispers, the sound of silk against the night air. It is a whisper that calls out to those who listen too long, a whisper that pulls at the heart like the tendrils of a vine, tightening with each passing moment. The curse of the Ashen brides is not simply their eternal weight. It is the weight of their unfulfilled promises. It is the knowledge that no matter how many years pass, no matter how many lovers come and go, they will never be released. They are bound to the crossroads, bound to the earth beneath their feet, by the unbreakable thread of a promise made and never kept. The longer they wait, the stronger the curse becomes. It is a force that drives them deeper into the darkness, a force that bends the very fabric of time and space itself. And as the years stretch on, the Ashen brides become more than just mournful spirits. They become creatures of the crossroads, guardians of the curse they cannot escape. But what is it that makes a promise so powerful, so unbreakable, that it can bind a soul for eternity? There are many theories, but the truth may be more terrifying than we can imagine. Perhaps it is the nature of the crossroads itself. After all, this is a place where paths converge and diverge, where choices are made that shape the very fabric of fate. To break a promise at the crossroads is to defy the very essence of choice itself. And so, the Ashen brides remain, locked in a cycle of waiting and yearning, never able to break free from the curse they bear. As they stand at the crossroads, the winds that blow through the trees seem to carry with them the echoes of those who have crossed before. They hear the whispers of their lovers, voices lost in the wind, promises made but never kept. And in the silence between the rustling of the leaves, they hear something else, a sound that makes their hearts beat faster, their blood run cold. The faintest of footsteps, the crack of a twig, a soft rustle in the air. The Ashen brides are never truly alone. There are always those who wander too close, drawn by the allure of the crossroads, the call of the promise. And it is these lost souls, these wanderers, who are most at risk. For the Ashen brides, the curse is not just about waiting. It is about the moment when they can finally reclaim what was taken from them. The love, the promise, the return. It is said that those who come too close to the crossroads will hear the whisper of the Ashen brides, beckoning them closer. And when they do, they will find themselves drawn into the same trap, the same eternal weight. The bride's curse is not just about vengeance. It is about perpetuating the cycle. They want others to feel the weight of the broken promise, to know the agony of waiting for something that can never come. And in this way, the Ashen brides feed the curse, ensuring that their vigil continues, ensuring that others are drawn into the same fate. There are those who say that the Ashen brides are not malevolent, that they are simply tragic figures caught in an eternal loop of pain and longing. But to those who have dared to venture too close, the truth is clear. The brides are no longer mere mournful spirits. They are predators, waiting for the right moment to claim their next victim. They do not wait for their lovers to return. They wait for others to come to them, so they can draw them into their curse, bind them to the crossroads, and ensure that the cycle of broken promises continues forever. The curse of the Ashen brides is not one of simple grief. It is a curse of endless longing, of an eternity spent waiting for something that will never come. It is a curse that twists the very soul, turning it from pure love into something far darker. It is a curse that binds the living and the dead in a never-ending cycle, a cycle that can only be broken when someone else, someone unsuspecting, someone vulnerable, steps too close. And when they do, the Ashen brides will be waiting, their veiled faces hidden beneath a shroud of sorrow and rage, their eyes burning with the fire of unfulfilled promises. The curse will continue, and the Crossroads will remain a place of eternal waiting, a place where love and betrayal meet in the most haunting of ways. Beneath the pale gaze of the moon, where the winds whisper secrets only the dead can hear, the Crossroads become more than just a meeting of paths. It is a place where the thin veil between the living and the dead trembles, fluttering like a candle flame caught in the breeze. Here, at this very intersection, where time bends and the earth itself seems to pulse with ancient power, the Ashen brides are not just waiting. They are caught in a liminal space, a place where the boundaries between life and death blur. And this is where the true nature of the Crossroads begins to unfold, not as a mere stopping point, but as something far darker, far more powerful, a portal. The idea of a portal is not a foreign concept in folklore. Crossroads have long been seen as sacred or cursed sites in cultures across the world. It is said that these places are not just physical intersections, but metaphysical ones, where realities collide, where spirits can pass through, and where destinies are shaped. The Crossroads are, in many ways, the heartbeat of the world's mysteries, a place where the living, the dead, and those who exist in between can meet. And it is at these intersections, these thresholds, that the Ashen brides stand. But they are not merely waiting for the return of their lovers. They are waiting for something else entirely. They are waiting for the moment when the veil between the worlds becomes thin enough to cross, not back into the world of the living, but into a place darker still. The Ashen brides, bound to this place by their broken promises, have become part of the Crossroads themselves. They are no longer merely women who once loved. They are now creatures of the Crossroads, guardians of the portal that lies within. The longer they wait, the more their connection to the Crossroads deepens. What was once a place of love and hope for them has become something else, something darker, more mysterious. It is as if the very land beneath their feet, soaked with the grief and sorrow of centuries, has absorbed their pain and transformed it into something far more powerful. The Ashen brides are now not just caught in a cycle of unfulfilled love. They are part of the Crossroads magic, part of its eternal pull, its endless mystery. In the stillness of night, when the winds die down and the world seems to hold its breath, there is a strange energy that pulses through the Crossroads. It is not the wind or the trees, nor the faint rustle of leaves in the distance. It is something else, something far older. It is the energy of the portal, and it hums with a life of its own. The Ashen brides feel it in their bones. They are drawn to it, as if the very essence of the Crossroads is calling to them. The longer they stand there, the more their bodies, their souls, begin to merge with the land itself. They become part of the portal, part of the threshold between the worlds. For the Ashen brides, this portal is not merely a means of escape. It is the key to their redemption, or perhaps their damnation. There is a sense, deep within their forgotten hearts, that the portal may offer them the release they so desperately seek. a release from their eternal vigil, from their endless waiting. But there is also something more, something darker lurking at the edges of their consciousness. What if the portal does not offer salvation at all? What if it leads to a place far worse than the endless wait of the crossroads? It is said that those who stand at the crossroads too long are never the same. The land changes them. The spirits that linger there, like the Ashen brides, change them. Perhaps this is what has happened to the brides. They are no longer innocent victims of broken promises. They are now the gatekeepers, the guardians of the portal that binds them to the crossroads. The portal does not offer them a return to life, but a crossing into something else entirely. A space where the living and the dead are indistinguishable, where grief and rage coalesce into something far more dangerous. What does the portal offer to those who stand at the crossroads? Is it a way out of the agony of the unkept promises? Or is it something more insidious, a trap that keeps them in the cycle of eternal waiting? The Ashen brides do not know the answer, but they feel the pull, an irresistible force that tugs at their souls, calling them to cross over, to step beyond the boundary of the living world and into the realm of the dead. But to cross the portal is to lose oneself entirely, to become something other than what they once were. The legends speak of the power of the crossroads, of the deals that can be made, the bargains struck between the living and the dead. The crossroads have always been a place where choices are made, where fates are sealed. But what happens when the choice is no longer in the hands of the living? What happens when the dead, the spirits that linger, take control of the crossroads themselves? What happens when the portal becomes not just a passage between worlds, but a doorway to something far more dangerous? As the Ashen brides wait, their bodies stiffened by the passage of time, they begin to sense the growing power of the portal. It is no longer a passive force. It is alive, pulsing with energy, pulling them towards it. They are no longer just standing at the crossroads. They are standing at the threshold of something far darker, something beyond the veil. And with every passing night, as the moon waxes and wanes, they feel the pull grow stronger. The Ashen brides are not the only ones drawn to the portal. There are those who come to the crossroads, unaware of the power that lies there. They come to make decisions, to find direction in their lives, to seek answers to the questions that haunt them. But the crossroads is not a place for simple answers. It is a place of choices, of consequences, of bargains that are not easily broken. Those who linger too long at the crossroads may find themselves drawn into the portal, their fates sealed by a bargain they did not even know they were making. The Ashen brides watch them from the shadows, silent and patient. For they know what awaits those who step too close to the portal. The portal at the crossroads does not simply lead to the world of the dead. It leads to something darker, a place where grief, vengeance, and longing take on a life of their own. It is a realm where promises are never fulfilled, where the souls of the lost and the betrayed are trapped forever. And the Ashen brides, once victims of broken love, have become part of this dark world, the gatekeepers to a place where the living and the dead are no longer distinct, where time has no meaning, and where promises are never meant to be kept. In the end, the question remains, will the Ashen brides ever cross the portal? Will they find redemption, or will they become part of the darkness that lies beyond the veil? No one knows. For the crossroads is a place of mystery, and the portal is a doorway to the unknown. And as long as the Ashen brides stand at the threshold, the portal remains open, waiting for the next soul to cross, waiting for the next broken promise to be fulfilled. The crossroads, this place where time and fate converge, holds a dark, haunting power, one that stretches beyond the physical realm. It is not just a space where paths intersect. It is a symbol of choice, consequence, and perhaps, most unsettlingly, the human psyche. As the Ashen brides stand frozen in their eternal vigil, they are not simply waiting for their lovers to return. They are waiting for something far more profound, something that reaches deep into the cultural memory of humanity itself. The Crossroads is not just a geographical location. It is a mirror of the mind, a reflection of our deepest fears, our choices, and the unseen forces that shape us. From ancient civilizations to modern-day folklore, the Crossroads have always held a place of symbolic power. Across cultures, they are seen as the ultimate threshold, a space between the known and the unknown, the living and the dead. It is no coincidence that so many myths and legends are born here, in this place where paths diverge and choices are made. In many cultures, the Crossroads are considered sacred or cursed, a place where life-altering decisions are made and where destiny itself is shaped. But what is it about the Crossroads that so consistently evokes such intense emotion, such primal fear? Perhaps it is the psychological weight of choice itself. A crossroads is the ultimate representation of decision-making, the very concept of what if that haunts the human mind. The moment we are forced to choose, we are faced with the uncertainty of what lies beyond the path we choose not to take. Every choice we make comes with the burden of what we leave behind. And in the case of the Ashen brides, what was left behind was a love that was never returned. Their torment, their endless vigil, is not just a matter of unfulfilled promises. It is a manifestation of the profound psychological anguish that comes from being caught between two worlds, the world of the living and the world of the dead. The Ashen brides are not just the victims of betrayal. They are the embodiment of a universal human fear, the fear of being forgotten. They are trapped in an eternal cycle of waiting, their hearts never allowed to move on, always bound to the crossroads by a promise unkept. And in this cycle, they become something more than just women waiting for love. They become the reflection of a deeper fear, the fear that, in the end, we are all just abandoned at the crossroads of life, left to wait for something that will never come. But this fear, this existential dread, is not unique to the Ashen brides. It is a fear shared by all of humanity, one that is passed down through the generations. The crossroads, with their symbolic weight, tap into a collective cultural memory, one that speaks to the very core of our being. From the crossroads of Greek mythology, where souls wander in search of their final resting place, to the crossroads of African and Caribbean folklore, where deals with dark forces are struck, the symbol of the crossroads carries with it the weight of cultural and psychological significance. The crossroads are where the living and the dead meet, where decisions are made that shape the course of a person's life. In the case of the Ashen brides, their curse is a part of this cultural memory. They are not just victims of betrayal, they are a warning, a reminder of the consequences of broken promises and unfulfilled love. Theirs is a tale that has been passed down through generations, a story woven into the fabric of folklore. And like all folklore, the tale of the Ashen brides serves as both a cautionary tale and a reflection of the fears and desires that shape us as human beings. The Ashen brides, bound to the crossroads by their grief, are a reflection of the collective unconscious, a symbol of the human desire to make sense of the chaos and uncertainty that surrounds us. They are a manifestation of the fear that, despite our best efforts, We are all ultimately left at the crossroads of life, standing at the threshold of fate with no clear path forward. The crossroads, in this sense, become a mirror of the human psyche, a place where we confront our deepest fears and our most profound questions about life, death, and destiny. What makes the Ashen Brides even more terrifying is that they are not just symbols of fear. They are also a reflection of the darkness that exists within each of us. The betrayal that binds them to the crossroads is not just a personal tragedy. It is a reflection of the ways in which we all betray ourselves, abandon our hopes, and fail to keep our promises. In this way, the Ashen Brides become more than just tragic figures. They become a mirror to the darker aspects of the human soul. The psychological weight of the Ashen Bride's curse is compounded by the knowledge that they will never be freed from their vigil. They are trapped in an endless loop, forever waiting for something that will never come, forever haunted by the broken promises of the past. This is the true horror of their existence, not just their abandonment, but the knowledge that they will never be released, that they will never escape the crossroads. Theirs is an eternal waiting, an endless cycle of longing, grief, and despair. And as time passes, they become more than just spirits of the past. They become the very embodiment of an unresolved, unhealed wound, a wound that grows deeper with each passing year. But the curse of the Ashen Brides is not just psychological. It is also cultural. Across cultures, the crossroads have been seen as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is thin, where spirits can pass freely between worlds. In many traditions, the crossroads are seen as a place of power, a place where the dead can reach out to the living, and vice versa. In some African and Caribbean traditions, for example, it is believed that the crossroads are a place where spirits can be summoned, where deals with dark forces can be struck. The Ashen Brides, in this context, are not just trapped by their grief. They are trapped by the very power of the crossroads, a power that they cannot escape. And it is this power, this dark, mysterious energy that pulses through the crossroads, that draws those who are lost, those who are seeking something, perhaps answers, perhaps redemption. The Ashen Brides are not the only souls who are bound to the crossroads. There are others, those who wander too close to the threshold, who feel the pull of the portal, who are drawn into the web of the crossroads magic. These souls, too, become part of the cultural memory of the crossroads, part of the lore that surrounds this dark, enigmatic place. The psychological and cultural significance of the crossroads is not lost on the Ashen Brides. They are both products of this space and symbols of its power. They are not just spirits of the past. They are the living embodiment of all that the crossroads represents, the choices we make, the promises we break, and the fear that we are all lost at the crossroads of our own lives, forever waiting for something that will never come. And so, the Ashen Brides stand, waiting for something that may never arrive, but knowing that the crossroads will always be there, a place where life and death meet, and where the dark power of choice and consequence reigns. The winds grow colder at the crossroads with each passing hour, and the very earth seems to shudder in the stillness of night. It is as if something stirs beneath the surface, something restless, something ancient. The Ashen Brides, once the victims of unfulfilled promises, are no longer merely spirits bound by grief. The passage of time, endless and unyielding, has changed them. The sorrow that once anchored them to the crossroads has twisted into something darker, something more dangerous. And now, something far more sinister is stirring within them, something that has awakened with the deepening shadows of the night. The Ashen Brides are not just waiting for their lost lovers to return, they are waiting for a far more terrifying transformation. They are waiting for the moment when the threshold between life and death, between the living world and the realm of the spirits, becomes thin enough for them to cross. But this crossing is not a return to the living world. No, it is a crossing into a place darker still. The brides, in their eternal vigil, have become something else. They are no longer simply trapped in grief. They are growing in power, their souls warped by the endless passage of time. And as their power grows, so too does the darkness that surrounds them. It is said that the dead never truly rest. And for the Ashen brides, the years of waiting, of being caught in a limbo between life and death, have begun to change them. The pure sorrow they once felt has transformed into something more potent, more consuming. What was once a simple longing for love has become an insatiable hunger. The Ashen brides have become not just mournful spirits, but creatures of vengeance. Creatures who feed on the very souls that cross their path. For centuries, the brides have been silent, standing at the crossroads in a stillness that is only broken by the passing of time. But as the years wear on, their silence becomes more than just a reflection of their grief. It becomes a manifestation of something darker. The brides are no longer waiting passively for the return of their lovers. They are now predators, watching from the shadows, their eyes burning with the fire of unfulfilled desire. The moment has come when the Ashen brides no longer simply wait. They rise, and as they do, the crossroads themselves tremble. The earth shifts beneath their feet, as if the very land recognizes the change that has taken place. The air grows thick, the silence becomes deafening, and the world seems to hold its breath. The moment when the Ashen brides rise from their eternal vigil marks the beginning of something far darker. Their sorrow has turned to rage. Their longing has become hunger. They are no longer the helpless women left at the crossroads. They are the guardians of the curse, the keepers of the portal that binds them to this place. As the Ashen brides rise, they are no longer silent figures standing motionless at the crossroads. They move now, their bodies shifting and swaying like shadows, their veils fluttering in the wind. Their faces, once hidden behind a shroud of ash, are now visible. But what you see in their eyes is not the sadness of abandoned love. It is something far more unsettling, something far more dangerous. Their eyes burn with the fire of vengeance, their once pure hearts twisted by the passage of time into something unrecognizable. They are no longer the women they once were. They have become something else, something dark, something hungry, something that will stop at nothing to reclaim what was promised to them. The Ashen brides are no longer bound by the same constraints that once held them to the crossroads. They are no longer trapped by the limitations of grief. They have broken free from their cycle of waiting, and in doing so, they have unlocked a power that was always lying dormant within them. The portal that lies within the crossroads, the portal that they have been guarding for centuries, is now open. And as the brides rise, they are drawn into it, not back into the world of the living, but into something far worse, something that lies beyond the veil of death. This crossing is not a return to the past. It is a crossing into the darkness that lies beyond the boundaries of life and death. The brides are no longer simply souls trapped in the realm of the dead. They have become something more, something darker. They are the bridge between the living and the dead, the guardians of a power that is as old as time itself. And as they rise, they draw others with them, others who are drawn to the crossroads by the same hunger, the same longing. The Ashen brides are not just rising from their eternal vigil. They are awakening a force that has been slumbering for centuries. The crossroads are no longer a place of simple waiting. They are now a portal, a doorway to something far darker. And as the Ashen brides emerge from their slumber, they are no longer the helpless figures they once were. They are powerful, unstoppable, and they are hungry. As they cross the threshold, they leave behind the world of the living, stepping into the realm of shadows, where the lines between the living and the dead are no longer clear. The air grows heavy with the scent of decay. The ground beneath their feet cracks and splits as they step into the darkness. The world of the living fades away, replaced by the endless void of the afterlife. A place where time has no meaning and the rules of the physical world no longer apply. It is here, in this dark realm, that the Ashen brides will find what they have been waiting for: the return of their lost love, the justice they have been denied. But as they cross into the darkness, they are not alone. There are others who are drawn to the crossroads, others who have been waiting just like the brides. These are the lost souls, the forgotten ones, those who have been abandoned, betrayed, or wronged in some way. They too are bound to the crossroads, their souls trapped in the same cycle of waiting and longing. And as the Ashen brides cross over into the darkness, they find themselves surrounded by these lost souls, all of them drawn together by the same hunger, the same need for vengeance. In the depths of the crossroads, the Ashen brides are not just reclaiming what was stolen from them. They are feeding the hunger that has been building within them for centuries. The portal has opened, and with it comes the power of the crossroads itself. The brides are no longer simply trapped in the realm of the dead. They are becoming part of it, becoming part of the darkness that swirls within the crossroads. And as they rise, as they step into the shadowy void that lies beyond the veil, they are not just claiming what was once promised to them. They are becoming the very thing they feared, the embodiment of vengeance, of longing, of broken promises. The Ashen brides have risen, and with their rise, they have unleashed something far darker than they could have ever imagined. As the night deepens and the world outside the crossroads lies in slumber, the air begins to grow thick with an unseen presence. The winds that once whispered secrets in the dark now howl through the trees, carrying with them an undeniable sense of foreboding. Beneath the pale light of the full moon, the crossroads, once a place of silent waiting, has become something else: a portal, an opening to realms unknown. And from within this darkness, the Ashen brides begin to stir. Their vigil, which has lasted for centuries, is at its end. Their transformation is complete. The brides are no longer bound by the chains of grief and longing. They are something far darker, far more terrifying. They are no longer waiting for love to return. They are coming back for something much more significant: vengeance. The tales of the Ashen brides, passed down through generations, spoke of a love unfulfilled, of promises broken, and of souls left in anguish. But those who spoke of them never saw what the brides had become. Their sadness had festered over the centuries, turned into rage and hunger. No longer the fragile, heartbroken women who once waited at the crossroads for a love that would never return. They have become agents of something far more sinister, an unstoppable force that exists to reclaim what was taken from them, to make those who wronged them pay for their betrayal. When the moment of their return comes, it is not with the quiet, haunting stillness that defined their endless vigil. No, this time, the air is alive with an energy that crackles and hums, as if the earth itself is bracing for something dreadful. The crossroads, which had for so long been a place of stillness, now trembles with the weight of their awakening. As they rise from their place beneath the oak tree, their figures become visible in the darkness. Tall and gaunt, their once beautiful faces now pale and hollow, their eyes burning with an unholy fire. Their veils, once a symbol of their grief, now flutter like tattered flags, their once sweet faces no longer obscured by ash, but by the darkness that has consumed them. Their eyes, once filled with tears, filled with sorrow, are now filled with rage, cold and unyielding. The Ashen brides have waited for so long, their grief morphing into an insatiable hunger. They are no longer passive spirits. They have become predators, seeking vengeance on those who dared to promise them forever, and then disappeared without a trace. Their return is not a simple homecoming. It is a reckoning. Their first steps away from the crossroads are not slow or tentative. No, they stride with purpose, the ground beneath, their feet shifting with every movement, as if the very land recognizes them and their power. It is in this moment that the full horror of their transformation becomes clear. The Ashen brides are not just haunting figures in a forgotten tale. They are a force of nature, an ancient power that has been reawakened after centuries of quiet suffering. Their bodies, once human, are now something else, wraith-like, their forms shifting in the shadows, their movements jerky and unnatural. They are no longer bound to the mortal realm. They are something between life and death, something that is neither truly dead nor truly alive. And it is this in-between state that makes them so terrifying. Their power lies in their ability to move between the worlds, to slip through the cracks where the living and the dead collide. As the Ashen brides take their first steps away from the crossroads, they begin to hear the whispers of the world beyond. The winds carry the echoes of their past, of broken promises, of abandonment, of betrayal, and the brides are drawn to them, their hunger growing with every step. The air is thick with the scent of decay, the sound of distant footsteps, and the ever-present whisper of the wind. The brides move through the darkness like shadows, slipping between trees, moving with a purpose, guided by a single thought: to find those who abandoned them. For those who dare to venture near the crossroads on this fateful night, there is no escape. The Ashen brides have returned, and they will not stop until they have claimed what was promised to them. It is said that they appear when the moon is full, when the veil between the worlds is thinnest, and when the time is right for their revenge to be fulfilled. Their return is not just a mere haunting. It is a reckoning, a moment of terror that cannot be avoided, cannot be outrun. As they approach the edges of the crossroads, the land itself seems to shift. The once quiet place is now alive with an eerie energy. The trees creak and groan, the earth beneath their feet trembles, and the very air seems to hum with an unnatural force. The Ashen brides move like specters through this landscape, their pale faces twisted with rage, their eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. They do not speak, for their silence is their weapon. The very sight of them, their empty, hollow faces, their tattered veils fluttering in the wind, is enough to send chills down the spine of anyone who dares to gaze upon them. Their return is not an event without consequence. It is the culmination of a curse that has bound them to the crossroads for centuries, a curse born of broken promises and unfulfilled love. As the brides move closer to the living world, they bring with them the weight of their pain, their sorrow, and their vengeance. They are no longer just victims. They are no longer merely the waiting women left at the crossroads. They are the embodiment of rage and grief, and they will stop at nothing to see their vengeance fulfilled. For those who cross their path, the consequences are clear. The Ashen brides will not show mercy. They will not allow anyone to leave the crossroads unscathed. To be in their presence is to be marked by their curse, to be touched by their grief, their hunger. Those who hear the whispers of their names, who feel the cold winds that carry their voices, will never be the same. For the brides are not just seeking revenge on those who betrayed them. They are seeking to spread their curse, to drag others into the same endless cycle of waiting, longing, and vengeance. The return of the Ashen brides is a reminder that some promises, once broken, can never be mended. It is a warning that the weight of a broken heart can shape the very fabric of fate, and that even time itself cannot erase the consequences of betrayal. The brides have returned, and with them comes the promise of vengeance. A vengeance that will not be satisfied until the cycle is complete. They will stop at nothing to ensure that the curse they have carried for centuries is passed on to those who dare to cross their path. And as the Ashen brides move through the night, their figures merging with the darkness, their cold eyes locked on their prey, one thing becomes clear. Their return is not just the return of ghosts from the past. It is the return of a force that has waited for centuries to be unleashed. A force that cannot be stopped, a force that will not rest until their vengeance is fulfilled. In the stillness of the night, when the winds fall silent and the moon casts its cold, indifferent light over the crossroads, the Ashen brides move through the shadows. Their return is not a victory. It is not a moment of triumph. It is a warning, a dire, unspoken message sent to those who still walk the earth in ignorance of the true power of the crossroads. They are not just ghosts from the past. They are not mere victims of broken promises. They are something far darker, something eternal. And as they slip through the veil between the living and the dead, they leave behind a legacy, a warning, one that will echo through the ages. Some promises, once broken, can never be undone. The curse is not just theirs to bear. It is one that must be carried by those who dare to walk the crossroads and tempt fate. The Ashen brides, once innocent and hopeful, now stand as a reflection of the consequences of betrayal. They are not just vengeful spirits. They are symbols of what happens when we forget the weight of our words, when we fail to honor our promises. They are the living embodiment of broken trust, of abandoned love, and of the wounds that never heal. And yet, in their silent movement through the darkness, they do not speak of their pain. They do not cry out in anguish. They are not like the restless spirits of old who wail and moan, begging for release. No, the Ashen brides are quiet. Their silence is their strength. Their stillness is their power. But in their silence, there is something far more unsettling. The Ashen brides do not need to speak to make their presence known. They do not need to show their faces to be feared. Their very existence is a warning, a reminder that some promises, once broken, can never be repaired. They are not the innocent lovers they once were, waiting for a return that would never come. They are now the guardians of a curse that stretches beyond time, beyond space, beyond the mortal realm. Their return is not a personal vendetta. It is a universal truth, one that speaks to the core of human nature. We are bound to the consequences of our choices, whether we acknowledge them or not. Their very presence is a warning to all who dare to make promises they do not intend to keep. The crossroads, the place where their souls were abandoned, is no longer just a place of intersection. It is a place of judgment. It is a place where those who break their promises are held accountable, not by the world of the living, but by the very forces that govern the unseen realms. And the Ashen brides are the emissaries of that judgment. They are the ones who remind us that the consequences of our actions are not so easily erased. As they move through the shadows, their form barely perceptible in the moonlight, the Ashen brides watch. They do not speak, but their eyes, cold, hollow, and filled with the weight of centuries, follow every movement, every step taken. Their gaze is not one of malice, but of warning. They are not here to torment or to claim the souls of the living. They are here to remind us of the cost of broken promises. They are here to show us the consequences of failing to honor our word. Those who wander too close to the crossroads may never even realize that they have passed into the realm of the brides. The Ashen brides are not the kind to confront or to demand attention. They are patient, watching from the periphery, waiting for the right moment. It is said that those who stand at the crossroads and feel the weight of a promise unkept are the ones most likely to fall under the influence of the brides. And yet, they do not strike immediately. They do not drag their victims into the darkness at once. Instead, they wait. They wait for the moment when the broken promise becomes too heavy to bear, when the guilt of a failed vow begins to eat away at the soul. That is when the Ashen brides make their presence known. Their warning is not a loud one. It is not a terrifying apparition that causes the heart to race. It is the quiet whisper of regret, the feeling of being watched when no one is there, the sudden chill in the air that causes the hairs on the back of your neck to rise. It is the nagging sense that something is wrong, something you cannot name, but something that calls out to the deepest part of your being. And in that moment, when the weight of your own choices presses upon you, you may feel the presence of the Ashen brides. Their silent warning will reach you, then, softly, almost imperceptibly, but unmistakably. They will make you feel the weight of your unkept promises. They will make you feel the burden of your choices, and the haunting reminder that you can never escape the consequences of the vows you break. The Ashen brides do not need to speak to be heard. They do not need to show their faces to be seen. Their warning is not one of thunderous rage or violent vengeance. It is the quiet, relentless weight of time and consequence, a reminder that the broken bonds of the past can never truly be erased. The curse of the Ashen brides is not just one of supernatural power. It is one that reaches deep into the hearts of those who fail to understand the gravity of their promises. It is a warning that echoes through the generations, passed down through stories, through whispers in the dark, through the unspoken understanding that we are all bound to the consequences of our actions. The Ashen brides have returned, but their return is not one of wrath. It is one of truth. They are not here to claim vengeance. They are here to remind us that the promises we make are not just words. They are the threads that bind us to others and to the world itself. And when those threads are broken, when those promises are abandoned, the consequences are inevitable. The Ashen brides are the silent reminder that no promise, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, is without weight. And those who break their vows will be forever haunted by the ghosts of their choices, just as the Ashen brides are forever bound to the crossroads. It is not their return that should frighten us. It is what they represent. The Ashen brides are the embodiment of the quiet power of promises broken, of lives altered by choices made in haste or without care. They are the reflection of a truth that we all must face. We are bound to our promises, and when we fail to honor them, we cannot escape the consequences. They are the warning, the voice in the dark, the one that calls us to be mindful of the words we speak and the vows we make. And so, as they move silently through the darkness. The Ashen brides leave behind a legacy. They are not simply figures from a forgotten legend. They are the reminder that the choices we make echo through time, that promises once broken will forever haunt us. They are the silent warning of the crossroads and of the consequences of walking away from the vows we make. Beneath the veil of time and sorrow, beneath the shroud of whispered legends, lies the truth of the Ashen brides. The tales have been told for centuries, of women waiting at the crossroads, abandoned by those they loved, bound by promises never kept, lost in an endless vigil of longing and grief. But these tales, though they speak of pain and vengeance, conceal the darker, more complex truth behind the bride's curse. It is not simply broken hearts and abandoned vows that bind them to this place. It is something far more insidious, something that has been hidden for generations. The true nature of the Ashen brides, the force that drives them to rise from the shadows and claim the souls of the living, is far more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. And as their tragic story unfolds, the revelation of this hidden truth shakes the very foundations of what we thought we knew about love, death, and the boundaries between the worlds. The Ashen brides are not, as the legends suggest, simply victims of unfulfilled promises. Their sorrow runs deeper than that. They were never just women abandoned at the crossroads. They were part of something far greater, part of a darker pact, one that entwined them not only with the lives of their lovers, but with the very fabric of fate itself. The crossroads, as we have come to understand, are not just a place of choice. They are a place where destinies are shaped, where decisions can alter the course of time. And it was here, at this intersection of fate, that the Ashen brides were caught in a web of deceit, manipulation, and betrayal far beyond their comprehension. It is said that when the crossroads were first formed, they were created by an ancient power, one that understood the value of choice. But this power did not come without its own agenda. The crossroads were not merely a place of decision. They were a place of control, a place where certain souls could be manipulated, shaped, and bound to the earth for eternity. The Ashen brides were chosen not as mere victims of love, but as pawns in a far more sinister game. Their love, the one they waited for so long, was never meant to return. The promises made to them were not made by those they loved, but by an entity much older and much more powerful. Their lovers were never intended to keep their vows. They were merely vessels for a greater force, a force that needed the brides to remain at the crossroads, waiting, forever bound to this place. The broken promises that the brides suffered were not the result of human error. They were the result of a manipulation that reached far beyond the mortal realm. And as the years passed, as the brides stood at the crossroads, waiting for a return that would never come, the true nature of their curse began to reveal itself. The power that bound the brides to the crossroads was not simply the power of grief and unfulfilled love. It was the power of a contract, an agreement forged between the brides and the ancient force that controlled the crossroads. The brides were never meant to be released from their vigil. They were never meant to find peace, because their pain, their suffering, was what fed the crossroads. The entity that created the crossroads fed on the energy of unfulfilled promises, of endless waiting, of longing that could never be satisfied. The Ashen bride's curse was not one of mere abandonment. It was one of exploitation, of being used as tools in a dark and unholy scheme. This revelation is the true horror of the Ashen bride's tale. Their pain, their suffering, their eternal weight was never meant to be a tragic consequence of love lost. It was meant to be a source of power for something far older, far darker. The brides were bound to the crossroads, not just by their own grief, but by a power that needed them to remain trapped in this endless cycle of longing. And as the years passed, as they were forced to wait, the power that sustained them grew stronger. They were not simply spirits. They were vessels for a force beyond understanding, a force that fed on their suffering and on the suffering of all those who crossed their path. The Ashen Bride's fate, tragic as it is not one that can be easily undone. Their vigil, their eternal wait, is part of a cycle that stretches back to the very creation of the crossroads. It is a cycle that cannot be broken by love, by vengeance, or by any mortal means. The entity that controls the crossroads is beyond the reach of those who suffer its effects. It is a force that exists outside of time, outside of life and death. A force that has shaped the destinies of countless souls, including the Ashen Brides. They are not simply bound to the crossroads because of a broken promise. They are bound to it because they were chosen, manipulated, and trapped by a force they could never comprehend. But what of the lovers who left them behind? What of those who swore to return, only to vanish without a trace? The truth, it seems, is that they too were mere pawns in this dark game. They were never meant to fulfill their promises. They were never meant to return. They were chosen as the instruments of the crossroads' power, bound to the brides by forces beyond their control. And as they went on with their lives, oblivious to the pain they had caused, they unknowingly fed the cycle, strengthening the curse that kept the Ashen Brides bound to this place. The lovers did not abandon the brides out of malice or cruelty. They abandoned them because they were never meant to return. They were never meant to love them. Their promises were never meant to be kept. This is the true tragedy of the Ashen Brides. Their love was never meant to be returned because they were never truly loved in the way they believed. Their pain was not caused by betrayal alone, but by the very forces that shaped their fates. They were never meant to be free. They were never meant to find peace. They were part of a plan much older, much more complex than they could ever have understood. And the curse that binds them to the crossroads is not just a consequence of human error. It is a consequence of forces beyond mortal comprehension, forces that have been manipulating the very course of their lives since the moment they first made their vows. Now, as the Ashen Brides rise, their eyes burning with the fire of vengeance, they are not simply seeking justice for the broken promises of their lovers. They are seeking to break the cycle that has trapped them for centuries. They are seeking to reclaim their power, to destroy the entity that has bound them to this place, and to break the chains that have kept them trapped in the crossroads for so long. But to do so, they must confront the truth that their pain was never their own. It was never just the result of love lost. It was the result of a dark and ancient manipulation, one that has shaped the fates of countless souls, including their own. The truth of the Ashen Brides is not just a revelation. It is a curse in itself, one that will haunt them forever. But in the face of this truth, the brides have a choice: to accept their fate and continue their eternal vigil, or to rise up, to seek the vengeance that has eluded them for so long, and to destroy the forces that have manipulated them for centuries. The crossroads are no longer just a place of waiting. They are a battleground, a place where the brides will fight for their freedom, for their redemption, and for the destruction of the ancient power that has bound them to this place. The night is still, unnaturally so. The winds that once whispered through the trees have fallen silent, and the moon, hanging low in the sky, casts its cold, ghostly light over the crossroads. Everything is waiting. Everything is suspended in time. The ashen brides stand at the very heart of the crossroads, their figures faintly glowing in the silver light. Their long, flowing veils flutter in the faintest breeze, their faces, pale, hollow, and transformed by centuries of grief and rage, are fixed in a look of unwavering determination. They have waited long enough. The time has come to end their eternal vigil, to cross the threshold that has bound them to this cursed place for so long. The crossroads, once a symbol of choice, now represents the finality of their fate. It is here, at this intersection of life and death, that the ashen brides will make their final choice. The veil between the worlds of the living and the dead has never been thinner. The time for waiting is over. There is no more holding on to the past, no more endless longing for something that was never meant to be. The ashen brides are no longer just spirits of unfulfilled love and broken promises. They have become something far more powerful. They have become the embodiment of vengeance, of all the years of waiting, of the torment and pain that has built up within them. And now, they stand at the precipice, ready to cross into the realm beyond, ready to face whatever lies beyond the veil. The power that has been building in them for centuries is now palpable, a force that radiates from their forms like heat from an open flame. The air around them crackles with energy, as if the very land itself is alive, holding its breath in anticipation of what is to come. The earth beneath their feet shifts, the very ground trembling, as if it recognizes the power of the moment. The ashen brides have waited long enough, and they will not be denied. They are not merely crossing into the world of the dead. They are crossing into the place where the broken promises of the past can be undone, where the curse that has bound them to the crossroads can be broken once and for all. But even as the brides prepare to cross, there is a moment of hesitation. It is not fear that holds them back. No, their grief and rage have burned away any remnants of fear. It is something else, something darker, deeper. The truth that has haunted them for centuries, the truth they have fought so hard to avoid, now rises to the surface. Their love, their longing, their pain, it was never truly their own. It was never just the result of broken hearts and shattered dreams. The entity that has manipulated them for so long, the force that created the crossroads, has been using their suffering to feed its own dark power. Their entire existence has been shaped by forces beyond their understanding, forces that have twisted their pain into something far more terrible than they could have ever imagined. And yet, even now, in the face of this truth, the ashen brides do not falter. They know what they must do. They must confront the darkness that has shaped their fate, face the entity that has used them for so long, and finally break the cycle that has bound them to this place. The crossroads may be the place where their suffering began, but it will also be the place where it ends. The time for vengeance is now, and the time for redemption is upon them. They will cross not as victims, but as agents of their own destiny. With a single, synchronized movement, the ashen brides step forward, their forms dissolving into the shadows, blending seamlessly with the darkness that surrounds them. They are no longer bound by the crossroads. They are no longer bound by the past. As they cross into the realm beyond, the world of the living fades from view, replaced by a vast, endless void. The veil between the living and the dead stretches before them, but this time it is not a barrier. It is a passage, a gateway into the unknown. And in this place, this in-between realm, the ashen brides are free. They are free from the curse that has bound them for so long, free from the unfulfilled promises that have haunted them. But the journey has not been without cost. As they stand at the threshold of this new realm, they are not the same women they once were. They have crossed the boundaries of life and death, and in doing so, they have become something else. Something more powerful, more ancient. They are no longer the brides waiting for a lover who would never return. They are now the gatekeepers of this new realm, the guardians of the very threshold that separates the living from the dead. The entity that created the Crossroads, the force that has used the Ashen brides for its own dark purposes, is not far behind. The moment the brides crossed the veil, they knew that the entity would follow. But they are not afraid. They have become something greater than the entity could ever imagine. The Ashen brides no longer belong to the realm of the living, and they no longer belong to the realm of the dead. They belong to the Crossroads, and they will protect it with everything they have. The entity arrives, a shadow in the distance, its form barely visible in the shifting darkness. It is a being of pure power, a force that has existed for as long as time itself, a creature that feeds on the suffering of others, using it to fuel its own dark existence. It is the one that created the Crossroads, that bound the Ashen brides to this place, that turned their grief and rage into a source of power. But now, it faces its reckoning. The Ashen brides stand together, their hands outstretched, their eyes fixed on the entity that has shaped their fate for so long. They have no words to speak, no vows to make. Their actions speak louder than any promise ever could. The time for waiting is over. The time for vengeance is now. The entity charges, its form growing larger, its power surging. But as it reaches the threshold of the realm, it is met by the full force of the Ashen bride's power. The air around them hums with energy, the very fabric of reality bending in response to their will. The entity is not prepared for the strength of the brides, for the depth of their anger, for the fullness of their vengeance. They are no longer the helpless women abandoned at the Crossroads. They are the embodiment of all the broken promises of the past, and they will not be silenced. With a single, final burst of power, the Ashen brides strike, sending the entity reeling backward, its form dissipating into the void. The Crossroads, once a place of endless waiting, is now a place of release. The cycle has been broken. The Ashen brides are free, and the curse that has bound them to this place for so long is finally lifted. But even as the entity vanishes into the darkness, the Ashen brides do not celebrate. They do not rejoice. Their journey has been long, their suffering great, and they know that the price of their freedom is not one that can be easily forgotten. The Crossroads may no longer be their prison, but it will always be a part of them, a part of their legacy. As they stand at the threshold, looking into the unknown, the Ashen brides know that they have crossed into a new realm, a place where their suffering no longer defines them. They are free, but they are also forever changed. Their story will live on, not as a tale of grief and longing, but as a testament to the power of vengeance and the strength it takes to break free from the chains that bind us. And as the moon rises once more, casting its pale light over the Crossroads, the Ashen brides disappear into the shadows, their forms fading into the night, leaving behind only the echo of their final, triumphant crossing.